Welcome, everybody. This is the Duval County Gamer, and this is my review for The Last of Us, the original Last of Us. I just finished my walkthrough a few days ago. It was really fun. I enjoyed it, and I'm just gonna give a quick little review of the game. I'll start by some of the gameplay mechanics and overall my overall thoughts on the game without any spoilers. Then after a little bit I'll kind of get into spoiler territory when I begin to talk about the story and how I feel about the story. So starting off, I really like this game. The gameplay I thought was really fun. It was really simple. When it came out for the PS3, it was the PS3's best game, and for the console, the graphics were pretty incredible. I mean, if you look at these graphics, man, they look really good. And even on the PS4, it rivals some of the later games as well. So Naughty Dog did a good job with the graphics in this game. I thought all the characters looked very real. They didn't look like pixels, video game characters. You know what I mean? They actually look like real people. There is a lot of emotion in the game, and whenever a character is showing any type of emotion, you can see it on their faces. It's very well done, very well done. So that aspect's very good. The game looks incredible. The levels themselves I thought were great. I really liked how kind of compact and really kind of like short the levels were. It really added to the suspense. It was like, there was a lot of places to hide, but there really wasn't any areas to hide for long. It like, as you can see, this is one of my worst moments of the game here, where I completely screwed up. But Tess is an absolute champion in this game, so she bails me out here. But just the level designs I thought were really good. It was very creepy. It's very obvious that this is a post-apocalyptic world. It's very well done. Everything's, you got the vegetation overgrowing buildings. It looks really good. The crafting system was really good. Basically, as Joel, you're just walking around and you're picking up any kind of materials for either a crafting like spikes or anything like that to your blunt weapons, or materials to craft like things like Molotov cocktails, which are very good for the infected, for going up against the infected, or spike bombs, which are really good, smoke bombs. There's just a lot of material just to grab, and it's depending on which difficulty you choose to play on, it's very scarce. So you have to kind of choose which material you want to craft, because depending on which area you're in, whether you're fighting a bunch of people or fighting a bunch of the infected, you could be in a situation where maybe it's better to use a certain type of bomb or smoke bomb or anything like that than the other. And if you only have so many materials to craft, you kind of have to choose which one to go with. So I know in my grounded mode playthrough that I did. I think maybe next time I might even play this game again on grounded mode. Not anytime soon, but in the future, I think I might. That you have to do that there, because it's so the room for error is very slim. The combat really kind of forces you to take a more stealth approach. Because it's almost better to sneak around enemies in this game, just because of how scarce everything is. So It's you really, it adds to the suspense when you're just, kind of sneaking behind fixtures and everything, and it's really really intense. I really actually can't think of another game that has been as suspenseful as this game has been throughout the entirety of the playthrough. It's very well done. I thought the enemies were very difficult, and again, the difficulty of the enemies will kind of vary depending upon what level you decide with. Obviously, if you go with the easier setting, the enemy AI won't be as difficult, obviously, but if you go on a harder mode, they like take different routes. Anytime you get killed, so it's difficult. It's really difficult, and it's presents a bit of a challenge. So it's I really like it because the game really prioritizes stealth over just going in guns ablazing. Though the combat, however, it was really simple but incredibly satisfying. Anytime you snuck up behind someone and strangled them to death, like Joel does on a lot of occasions, or when you sneak up behind a clicker and shiv them in the neck, it's feels pretty good. The game does a good job making you feel very scared and very satisfied when you take out an enemy. It's very well done, and it's not perfect. There can be times where, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I guess it could be a certain kind of loading screen or whatever. But sometimes the character will feel like Joel, like he's carrying like 1,000-pound rocks in his backpack, because you'll try to push the stick forward and he just won't go. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I have heard that other people have had that issue too. Um, with this being a PS3 game, and I played this on the PS4, maybe there's a bit of a lagging type of scenario, and there is a little bit of glitches here or there throughout the game. It's really not that serious. I'm just kind of nitpicking here, but it's just little minor things. It doesn't take away from it. The game is, for the most part, it really is flawless, to be honest with you. But there is several times where I could feel like Joel kind of freezing up a little bit, at least in my playthrough. And it could be a little annoying, but it wasn't really anything that took away from the game. You can collect parts in the game to kind of upgrade your weapons, and it's really really good. The shotgun is my personal favorite. It's really nice when you blow apart some of these infected that are coming after you. Rifle's pretty good. The El Diablo is really really satisfying too once you get further in the game. Shorty's really good. All the guns is really 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 nice. You get to have a baseball bat is awesome. The machete and the axe are like my favorite melee weapons, because basically that's a one swing is a kill. So if you add the crafting stuff together, you could have like a total of like 6 one-shot kills with either the machete or the axe. It's very very satisfying. But overall, it's I thought the infected were very very they were really scary, man. Like honestly, they pretty much these infected creatures have taken over the world, and um they're so creepy because they just like kind of shuffle around, and you have to be careful because in dark places you're tempted to use your flashlight, but these runners, as they're called in the game, they can see your flashlight, and if they see it, they'll start charging toward you, and every infected in the room will begin to charge you as soon as they see the light. So you have to really be careful and sometimes turn that light off while you're in some of the darker levels. Any type of melee combat, you have to have a shiv, you have to sneak up on them. and they can pretty much kill you in one shot if they get their hands on you. So they're always a difficult enemy, though they're blind. So you have to use things like bottles and bricks to throw in certain to kind of lead them away from you, so you can sneak up behind them. It's also very very intense and real scary, but incredibly satisfying when you're able to take one of them down. And same with the bloaters are real terrifying. They're big, nasty creatures that have been infected for a long time. You pretty much have to save your bullets to take them down. Pretty much Molotov cocktails are key. Use those. They're like the best things to use against those things. You know, I depending on which difficulty you go to, I believe like two Molotovs and a few bullets will do it. Um, so that's what's usually the best. Anything with fire works best on infected. So any Molotov cocktail, flamethrower, save for the infected for sure. Now, getting into the spoilers of the game, and talking a little bit about so the gameplay I really liked. I thought the gameplay was at times a little clunky, at times a little glitchy, but overall it was phenomenal. The graphics were great the majority of the time. The combat, while very very simple, is incredibly satisfying. So it's very fun to play. In the puzzles, like you see here, they're relatively simple, but fun to figure out as well, So it's it's a real fun game to play, And while shooting infected and sneaking up on hunters and sneaking around these enemies make the game really good, the best part of the game is its story. And I'm going to go ahead and get into spoilers now. So if you somehow have never played this game before, or you don't know the story of the original Last of Us game, go ahead and turn this video off now. Or if you either A, know what happens, or B, just don't really care, you can go ahead and listen on. But basically, just to sum it up real quick, essentially it is a post-apocalyptic world. Joel is the game's main protagonist. Essentially, the game opens with one of the craziest openings I've ever seen in a video game, where Joel actually loses his daughter Sarah. Like, I think she's like 8 years old or something. She gets killed in the first day of the outbreak. They're trying to escape, and this dumb guard like shoots her, and soldier shoots her, and she dies. And Joel is really really depressed about it, and it's actually really kind of crazy. It's really one of the craziest openings I've ever seen in a video game. That it really sets the tone for how kind of dark and brooding this game is going to be. But then we get then the story kind of flashes forward 20 years later, and Joel's a hardened survivor. He's real no nonsense. He's really, the guy's really kind of a selfish guy. He's not what would you call a hero. The guy's a survivor, so he just looks out for himself, for the people that's close to him, and he just cares about living through the day. And that's pretty much what it is. It's a world where not a day is not guaranteed. You have to kind of fight throughout the day and night to survive. So he comes into contact with Marlene, who is the head of the Fireflies. Him and his partner Tess are tasked with taking this girl Ellie to the Fireflies, because she is immune to the virus that has infected the planet. And the mission is essentially just to get her over to the Fireflies, and so they can administer a cure. So a lot of crazy stuff happens throughout the game. People are killed. Eventually Joel has to take Ellie, across the country to reach the Firefly Hospital uh, across the U.S. I think Salt Lake City. I think it was, and it's really really good. Because you get to see the story's more kind of in close to these two characters, seeing how they bond with each other, how they save each other's lives. It's really cool. Joel saves Ellie, Ellie saves Joel, and essentially story culminates with Joel and Ellie finally, you know, taking out all the going throughout the entire country, taking out infected, dodging people who are trying to kill them just for their supplies, and they make it. They make it to the Fireflies. But the whole twist of the story is, and we're in spoiler sections now, is the fact that while Ellie is immune, we get there, but the whole twist of the story is the the fungus in her brain has mutated, so she's not able to get infected. So Marlene, who initially hired us about a year or so ago to take Ellie to the Fireflies, basically informs us that they're going to have to take it out of her brain to reverse engineer a vaccine, which essentially means they're going to have to kill her. So, as you can imagine, Joel, who had lost his daughter in the beginning of the game, and who, upon hearing this news, really is not having that. Essentially, as you can see here, as soon as Joel hears that, he kind of goes into a rage, and he just basically kills everyone in the facility. That's the whole twist of the game. They finally get there. They to administer a cure. Joel finds out that they're gonna have to kill her to do so, and Joel takes it upon himself to wipe out the entire facility and save Ellie, who has been incapacitated because she nearly drowned in the previous scene before in a big flood, essentially. So Ellie's passed out. She's she's been drugged, and she's basically on the operating table now, about ready for surgery. So she has no idea what's happening. And Joel, it's really crazy because in this situation, the player's really not supposed to know how to feel, because you spend the whole game trying to get there, and these people are just trying to make a cure to save all of mankind. But what makes it so great is the writers for the game did such a good job developing the characters. That's what makes The Last of Us so great is the characters. It's the story, but even more than the story is the characters. They took the time to really develop characters. It's not an easy thing to do. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of time, a lot of effort. You really have to, and a lot of care. It requires a lot of finesse. You have to really mold the characters so that your audience can care. You effectively, you want to make sure your audience cares about these characters, and they did such a good job with that, with Joel and Ellie's relationship, kind of a father-daughter relationship, as they travel the country to get here. And when it comes time to find out that they have to kill her, I'm with Joel, man. I'm like, we gotta save Ellie, dude. I don't care if you can get a vaccine or not. The thing is, and the whole twist of the game is, it's hinted that the Fireflies really, it's not guaranteed they could make the vaccine. They're basically kind of grasping at straws. Because they're desperate. Everyone in this game is very desperate. The writers for this game did a really good job of making all the characters just make this world feel so. Everyone in this world just felt so desperate because of how the whole world's gone to shit, and basically the Fireflies in their mind is like, well, the only thing we have to fight for is saving humanity by getting a vaccine from this girl who can't get infected. So in a way, you feel for them, but these people are crazy because they're okay with killing a preteen girl for the chance of making a vaccine that may or may not work. Like you can't, like, imagine for any of you parents out there, if the doctor were to tell you, hey, look, man, your child can't get infected with this disease, so we can make a vaccine from it, but we're gonna have to kill her or him. And but the thing is, we can't guarantee the vaccine will be able to make it. So, but we want to try anyway. I just, me personally, I just wouldn't go for it. I would, if it were me, I'd be like Joel. I'd tell him no, no, no. I'm not doing that. Like, you can't. One, you can't guarantee me you could get the vaccine, and even if you did, I'm not letting you do that. You need to find someone else, because I'm not letting you carve up my child for any kind of vaccine. And this world's gone to shit. Like, I have no confidence that you could administer it, that you could do what you need to do. And also, Joel has gotten really attached to Ellie, so it. And the crazy thing about Joel is they do such a good job with his character that his decision in the end to take down the Fireflies makes all the sense in the world, because Joel didn't even want to go here. He didn't even want to go on this trip in the first place. Like, Marlene hired him and his partner, a woman in Boston named Tess, who was a badass character in her own right, to take him out. But Tess is bitten and infected and is killed earlier in the game, and Joel doesn't even want to go all this way. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going all the way across the country. That's too much of a risk. There are a lot of crazy people in the world. I'm not risking myself for this. Forget this. But Tess makes him promise to take Ellie, because Tess, she's desperate too, and she wants humanity to be saved. And she was like, hey, Joel, man, I'm about to die. Please take Ellie to the Fireflies. And Joel says, all right, fine, I'll do this for you. So Joel doesn't even want to go on this trip. But as the story progresses, as they travel, and it takes them like a year to get there, the game is broken up into seasons, which I thought was really, really, really well done. It starts in spring and it pretty much ends in spring too. It goes spring, summer, fall, winter, and so during the journey, him and Ellie get really close. They learn a lot about each other. They get really attached to one another, and Joel really, it opens up and gets attached to her. So it just, I thought the ending was just so. It's really one of the best video games I've ever played in my life. It's story wise. This and God of War are like my two favorite games. It's so well done, and the operating room to like save Ellie is one of the craziest moments of the game. As you can see here, I added it in here because the surgeon, he's like asking, what are you doing in here? And you can see here he refuses to give up Ellie because he's desperate. He wants to engineer this vaccine to save the planet. And Joel is as you can see here, Joel just is not having it. He cares for Ellie, he loves Ellie, he wants her to have a happy life, so and what he did was he was selfish here. The thing is, Joel just didn't give a shit. Like, Joel didn't care one way or the other. Like, he never really believed in this whole vaccine nonsense to begin with. He only was on this trip because he made a promise to a good friend of his who died in Tess. That's the only reason he was doing it. He really didn't care one way or the other if they could get a vaccine or not. So, and the fact that throughout the journey he cares for Ellie, and he just wasn't going to go along with it. He was never going to do it. And while you may feel shocked initially playing as Joel as you rescue Ellie, it makes all the sense in the world that he would do this. So I thought The Last of Us was a really really good game. It was a great game. The story, in fact, was the best part of this game. So, it, and basically, I it's a 10 out of 10. I think it's a masterpiece. It's very very. It's one of the best games I've played. I have played the story multiple times over the years. I plan on continuing to play it. I'm done with it for now, but in maybe a few years or so, if there's no new games that come out. But it's just a really great game. I really recommend you do it. And the ending of the game is just so great because basically the whole ending of the game is Joel effectively lies to Ellie because Ellie's aware that Ellie was passed out throughout the whole ending. Ellie's passed out, and Joel ends up killing everyone in the facility, including Marlene. Takes Ellie, escapes, and when Ellie wakes up, he lies to her. He like tells her, "Hey, there was a whole bunch of other kids who were immune. It really hasn't worked out, so they couldn't make a cure. So I'm just taking you home." And Ellie, as shown throughout the story, is a pretty bright kid, and she kind of knows that Joel's full of shit here. So in the very last scene is her kind of confronting him again, trying to ask what happened. She's essentially asking him. In the dialogue's so good because she doesn't outright say it. She kind of beats around the bush, but she's basically asking Joel, "Hey, I'm giving you a chance here. Can you please tell me the truth? Can you please tell me what happened? Because I really wanted to sacrifice. Ellie really wanted to sacrifice herself because she felt like she owed it to all the people who died before, her friends and everything, to administer a vaccine to save the planet." And she's basically confronting Joel and wanting him to tell her the truth about what happened because she doesn't believe what Joel is telling her. And then basically the game ends where she asks him to swear that everything she told him is true, and Joel straight up just looks at her and lies to her face, just says, "I swear." And then Ellie decides to preserve the relationship, to preserve that they have built over the course of a year, because she loves him, and she doesn't want to really break that bond, so she decides to go along with the lie, and the game just ends. And it's really really crazy because you're kind of left in this wondering like what's going to happen with these characters. She basically knows that Joel is lying to her, but so she confronts him. Joel continues to lie and just straight up, because that's his character, he don't give a shit. He's like, "Yeah, that I'm telling you the truth." And Ellie just accepts it. She essentially accepts what Joel is telling her to preserve the relationship because of how close they have grown to each other. It is a fascinating story. The writing is the best you're going to see in a video game. I recommend that anyone here that hasn't played it, go check it out, go play it for the story alone. And along the way, you get to have some fun taking out some bashing some infected's head in, strangling some soldiers, and just shooting up a whole bunch of video game pixels. It's pretty fun. So that's my review. I loved it. I really did. I loved it. I gave it a 10 out of 10. And yeah, so recommend that you guys play it. That's going to be it for now. I will be doing God of War next, the new God of War. I'm very excited about that. I'll start uploading that here pretty soon. And once I get done with that game, I'll do a review for that too. I'll probably start doing... I want to start switching things up on this channel a little bit. I'll probably do... along with video game walkthroughs, video game reviews, I'll probably do TV show reviews. I'll probably watch Yeah, I did one for Batman: The Long Halloween. I thought that was great, but I'll probably do other things too as well. Not sure which ones I want to decide to watch yet, but I'll do reviews on certain TV shows that I really enjoy and and movies that I enjoy. So look out for that in the future. So that's gonna be it for now, guys. I'll catch you guys on the next one, and and yeah, have a good one. Take care of yourselves. All right, bye.